world of the bold and the beautiful has always thrived on moments where ambition collides with loyalty and where family love becomes indistinguishable from rivalry. But the events unfolding on Wednesday, January 14th, 2026, sharpen those themes with unusual precision. This is not an episode driven by spectacle alone, but by emotional pressure, quiet calculations, and the slow realization that every choice, no matter how well-intentioned, creates fractures that cannot easily be repaired. On the surface, the day appears to offer hope. A young woman on the brink of professional purpose, a sister celebrating independence, and a family elder extending generosity. Beneath that surface, however, tension coils tightly, because each of these gestures carries implications that threaten to redraw lines of loyalty inside one of Los Angeles' most powerful families. The episode opens in the charged atmosphere of Forrester Creations, a place where creativity and control have always existed in uneasy balance. For Dylan, merely stepping into this space feels like crossing a threshold between uncertainty and possibility. Her excitement is not naive. It is the excitement of someone who understands how rare such opportunities are and how fragile they can be once exposed to scrutiny. Dylan is not arriving with entitlement, nor with grand expectations of power. She arrives with curiosity, gratitude, and a cautious hope that her talents might finally find a home where they are seen rather than overlooked. That emotional state matters because it places her in stark contrast to the entrenched power struggles surrounding her. While others see Forrester Creations as a battlefield for legacy, Dylan sees it as a workshop, a place where skill, patience, and imagination still matter. This possibility exists largely because of Elektra's instinct to open doors rather than guard them. Elektra's suggestion to bring Dylan to Forrester Creations is not a reckless act, but a quietly defiant one. In a company where names often outweigh ability, Elektra chooses to foreground potential. By involving Will in this effort, she transforms what could have been a private favor into a shared belief that talent deserves access. Their decision to bring Dylan directly to Steffi is both strategic and symbolic. It bypasses layers of bureaucracy while acknowledging that real authority at Forrester Creations now rests in Steffi's hands, whether others openly admit it or not. Steffi's reaction to Dylan is shaped by recognition, memory, and trust. Having known Dylan previously as an art teacher for Hayes, Steffi does not encounter a stranger, but someone whose influence has already touched her family. This prior connection softens the usual corporate distance and allows Steffi to see Dylan not as a risk, but as a continuation of values she already respects. Steffi's willingness to consider offering Dylan a position is therefore deeply personal. It reflects her belief that creativity should be nurtured rather than hoarded, and that the future of Forrester Creations depends on fresh voices as much as established ones. Yet even in this moment of openness, Steffi remains bound by the structure she helps lead. Her instinct to consult Ridge before finalizing anything is not weakness, but realism. She understands the fault lines that run through the company, particularly when decisions intersect with the emotionally charged legacy of the Logan name. Ridge's complicated relationship with business decisions has long been shaped by resentment, avoidance, and an almost reflexive resistance to anything that threatens the symbolic dominance of the Forrester identity. Steffi knows that presenting Dylan as a fait accompli would provoke conflict rather than cooperation. Instead, she chooses patience, trusting that her judgment will ultimately carry weight. The irony of this situation becomes more pronounced when viewed alongside the recent firing of Deke. From a purely procedural standpoint, the contrast is striking: one individual dismissed, another considered for employment. Yet the deeper tension lies not in fairness, but perception. Dek's dismissal was rooted in trust and boundaries, whereas Dylan's potential hiring is rooted in mentorship and promise. Still, optics matter at Forrester Creations, and news of Dylan's opportunity is likely to reverberate beyond the walls of Steffi's office. Ridge, who already resents being forced into managerial decisions, may find this development especially grating not because of Dylan herself, but because it reinforces how much influence Steffi now wields. In a company defined by power struggles disguised as creative disagreements, every hiring decision becomes a statement of authority. While Dylan's storyline embodies the hopeful side of ambition, Donna's storyline unfolds on the opposite emotional spectrum, defined by strain, loyalty, and the exhaustion of being caught between people she loves. Donna's role as peacemaker among her sisters has always been rooted in empathy rather than strategy. She understands Katie's drive to reclaim her identity through an independent venture, and she also understands Brooke's anger at what feels like a direct challenge to the legacy of the Logan name. Donna does not view these positions as mutually exclusive, which is precisely why she suffers. Her heart insists that love should override pride, yet experience tells her that pride is rarely so easily subdued. Donna's happiness for Katie is genuine and unguarded. She sees in Katie's new venture not rebellion, but survival away for her sister to stand on her own terms after years of sacrifice and compromise. At the same time, Donna cannot dismiss Brooke's perspective. Brooke's fury is fueled not simply by business concerns, but by a deeper fear of erasure. To Brooke, the Logan name is not just a brand. It is proof of endurance in a world that has repeatedly tried to diminish her. Donna feels the weight of both truths pressing against her, and that pressure transforms her from mediator into emotional casualty. As the episode progresses, it becomes increasingly clear that Donna's position is unsustainable. Mediation requires neutrality, but neutrality itself can feel like betrayal when emotions are this raw. Donna senses that a moment is coming when silence will no longer be interpreted as peacekeeping, but as avoidance. Her dread is not about choosing a side, but about losing the version of her family that existed before this conflict hardened into principle. She understands that once she aligns herself, no matter how reluctantly, something will be lost, and that loss will linger far longer than the argument itself. Hovering over this familial conflict is Eric's decisive involvement, which shifts the emotional stakes from personal disagreement to generational rupture. Eric's pride in Katie's independence is sincere, rooted in his belief that creativity flourishes best when freed from rigid control. His offer to help Katie is not an act of defiance against Ridge, but an affirmation of his own values as the founder of Forrester Creations. To Eric, supporting Katie does not undermine the family. It honors the spirit of innovation that built the company in the first place. However, intention does not erase consequence. Eric's support inevitably places him at odds with Ridge, whose authority has long been shaped by the need to protect the Forrester legacy from perceived dilution. When Brooke and Ridge learn of Eric's involvement with Katie's venture, their reaction is immediate and visceral. To them, Eric's actions feel less like encouragement and more like betrayal. The emotional wound cuts deeper because it comes from the patriarch himself, the one person whose approval has always carried unmatched weight. Brooke's response is especially complex. Though she shares Ridge's outrage, her conflict is layered with contradiction. Brooke's loyalty to Ridge pulls her toward condemnation, yet her identity as a Logan makes outright rejection of Katie's independence feel like self-denial. In this tension, Brooke faces a reckoning not only with her sister, but with herself. Is she willing to prioritize her marriage over her bloodline? Or has the line between Forrester and Logan blurred beyond recognition in her own heart? Ridge, meanwhile, interprets Eric's decision as a direct challenge to his leadership. The sense of being undermined awakens long-standing insecurities about relevance and control. Ridge's anger is not simply about Katie's success, but about the implication that his authority can be bypassed. In a family where respect is often expressed through compliance, Eric's choice feels like a public correction. The resulting divide is not loud or theatrical, but heavy with disappointment and unspoken resentment. As these storylines converge, the episode builds toward a question that resonates far beyond the immediate conflict. Can ambition coexist with loyalty without destroying both? Dylan's opportunity at Forrester Creations symbolizes a future shaped by merit and mentorship, while Katie's independent venture represents a reclaiming of identity long overshadowed by compromise. Donna's struggle embodies the emotional cost of holding families together when love is no longer enough to bridge ideological divides. Eric's support challenges entrenched hierarchies, forcing a reckoning with what legacy truly means. The power of this episode lies in its refusal to offer easy answers. There is no clear villain, only individuals acting from conviction and fear in equal measure. Every character believes they are protecting something essential, be it family, identity, or purpose. Yet protection, when driven by rigidity, becomes indistinguishable from harm. As the episode closes, reconciliation remains uncertain. The fractures between Katie and Brooke deepen. Eric and Ridge stand on opposite sides of principle, and Donna's silence grows heavier with each passing moment. What lingers most hauntingly is the realization that the greatest conflicts at Forrester Creations are no longer about control of a company, but about control of meaning. Who defines legacy? Who decides when independence becomes betrayal? And when the lines are finally drawn, will love prove strong enough to survive on opposite sides of them, or will loyalty demand a sacrifice that no one is truly prepared?